this is Jen from Windrose Fiber Studio. This is how to crochet for absolute beginners. I'm going to show you how to hold the yarn and the hook whether you're right-handed or left-handed. And I am going to start off my lessons as if you have never even touched a skein of yarn or ever handled a crochet hook. So if you have a little bit of experience, this lesson might be a little too basic for you, but I wanted this first lesson to really address everything from the very, very beginning. If you've seen people crocheting and you want to do it too, but you know absolutely nothing about the craft, this is the first lesson for you. So I really like to recommend when you're learning to crochet to start off with a medium-sized hook. This is a 5mm hook. I have been using the brand Susan Bates ever since I learned how to crochet, so it is simply the hook that I'm most comfortable with. There are lots of brands you'll see hooks like this, and I believe that there are just people who like this handle shape. Maybe it's a little more ergonomic for them, maybe their hands are more comfortable holding something that's a little bit, that has a little bit more width to it. So what I would recommend is that you learn to crochet using an aluminum hook. There's a lot of plastic, there's a lot of bamboo. There's nothing necessarily wrong with plastic or bamboo, but yarn will slip a little more easily over aluminum, and I just feel like it'll be a less frustrating experience for you getting started working with an aluminum hook. So we're going to go with a 5mm hook, and the hook of your choice, just please, if you can, go for an aluminum. If you don't have aluminum, just use what you have. Any hook will work. And then we're going to use a medium weight yarn. This is a really affordable acrylic yarn. This one happened to come from Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn. $5 for, gosh, how many? 355 yards, 325 meters. So a lot of yarn for the money. It's a nice feeling yarn. It makes very clear stitches, easy to see. So I really like recommending sort of a medium weight and a medium-sized hook just while you're getting your hands, your fingers used to this new craft that you're about to embark on. Just from the very beginning, when you get this skein of yarn, there are two ends. I'm gonna slide this paper off. Oh, maybe I'll just pull it off. And there's usually one end of yarn that you can find. Maybe you can find, there it is. Maybe it is, I don't know. Where is the outside edge of yarn? So I should just keep this in real time because, wait, there it goes. So they had the outside end of yarn tucked into the end of the skein. That's what we typically call a ball of yarn like this, a skein. And I am actually going to take this. Now you could use this yarn, it's pulling from the outside edge, but what's going to happen if you use this yarn is every time you need more yarn, your skein's going to roll away. So, and there are people who have strong opinions about whether to use the outside end of the yarn or the center end. And I guess I am team center. So to find the center pull of a skein, you can see this end of yarn, there's a little hole in the middle. And I'm just going to reach my fingers in and just try to grab some yarn from the center. This is a really tightly wound skein, so I'm just going to pull a hank. Now sometimes we call that yarn vomit, this big piece of yarn that comes out from the center pull. But normally you're going to be working on a big enough project that you're going to use this little bunch of yarn that comes out of the middle, so that's not a big deal. So I'm just pulling from the skein until I get to the beginning end, and here we go. The very first thing we want to do is attach our yarn to the hook, and the way we're going to do that is with a slip knot. Now this is going to seem pretty elementary if you already know how to do a slip knot, but I'm going to assume that you've never made a slip knot before for just a second. Now, this is the cut end of the yarn, and then the yarn that's attached to the skein we're going to call the working end of the yarn. So this is your working yarn. The yarn that's attached to the skein is the working yarn, and here's our cut end. So to me, the easiest way to teach someone how to make a slip knot is to make a U. And it doesn't matter if the cut end is on the right or the left, but just make a U with your yarn. And then you're going to take the cut end and you're going to put it over the working yarn. And now I'm going to pick up this loop and I'm going to put my fingers through from the bottom to the top, from underneath, and then keeping this tail from slipping away, maybe hold on to that, and I'm just going to grab the working yarn and then I'm just going to pull. What this does is it gives me a slip knot that when I pull the working yarn, the knot gets tighter, and when I pull the cut end, the loop on my hook becomes looser. So if I pull the working yarn, it gets tighter around the hook. If I pull the cut yarn, I can loosen up the loop on my hook. Okay, I'm going to show you again. I know this is YouTube and you could rewind, but just let me show you again real quick. Once again, I'm pretending we're in class together. So here we are. I have a U. I put the cut end over. Remember, it doesn't matter if the U starts off like this or like this. You just want to take the cut end of the yarn, put it over the working end, and then from underneath I'm going to take my pincher fingers through the loop and I'm going to grab the working yarn and pull through. Now if I'm left-handed, first of all we'll just show you that that makes our working slip knot. If I'm left-handed, exact same thing. Now I know so many left-handed people have sort of taught themselves to do things in a right-handed way, but I just don't think it's fair unless you show it both ways. I am very right hand, so things do feel more awkward to me when I do it left-handed, but you know, things are feeling awkward for you right now too if you're learning to crochet for the first time. So as a lefty, I'm going to put the cut end of my yarn over. Actually, if I'm a lefty, so as a lefty, I'm going to take the cut end of my yarn and I'm going to put it over the working end, and then I'm going to take the pincher fingers of my left hand underneath that loop and I'll hold the cut yarn with my right hand, and then I'll just grab the working yarn and pull it through. And then I can take my hook and put it through that loop, and if I pull the working yarn, the knot gets tighter. If I pull the cut yarn, I can loosen the loop on the hook. So the exact same thing, whether you're right-handed or left-handed. So I'm going to show the left-handed one more time. I'm just going to put that cut end over the working yarn. I'm going to put my pincher fingers underneath that loop. Let me show you. And then I'm going to grab the working yarn and then just pull. There we go, there we have it. So now we've got our yarn on our hook and we're ready to crochet. Now I'm going to switch back to right. I'm going to do my best to switch back and forth and show you both ways. So once again, oh, and I was just going to show you, so if you want, you know, if this U seems kind of silly, you can pick the yarn up in the air and just kind of twist it. See how I just have it twisted? And then just make sure the cut end is on top and grab. Same thing with the left hand. If I just twist it, you want to twist it in the direction so that the cut end is on top and grab the working yarn. So you can see, because I've been crocheting for so long, I just automatically want to twist in the air and grab the working yarn, and I've got my slip knot. This piece of cut yarn is referred to as the beginning tail. I would recommend always having a beginning tail of 6 to 8 inches because you will be weaving this into your work. I see a lot of people having really short tails, and that's going to be really hard to work with later on. So give yourself a generous 6 to 8 inches of beginning tail. Okay, now the next big step is to learn what your hands are going to be doing. So if you're right-handed, your right hand is going to be in charge of holding the hook. With these Susan Bates hooks, you can see that there's sort of a flat part of the hook right here, and I'm going to hold it with my thumb resting on that flat piece, and I'm going to hold it with the hook facing upwards, just gently in my hands. Now you'll see people holding hooks in different ways, and there's no one right way or wrong way. The two most common ways are upright, the way you see me holding it, and then a lot of people will hold it like a pencil. I'm going to teach you the way I know, so for my lessons, I'm going to show you this way. So you just hold it comfortably, not tight, just comfortably with your thumb on that flat piece, and this gives you all this working space with the hook. And then your left hand is going to be in charge of holding the yarn and your work and controlling the tension. Okay, so my pointer finger is going to go under that yarn. My thumb and my middle finger are going to hold the slip knot, and then my ring finger and my pinky are going to curl around and control the tension. If I pull my working yarn, you can see how I can kind of control the tension. If I raise my pointer finger up, I can give myself a little more yarn. How much tension you have will be how tight you're kind of holding on with your ring finger and your pinky finger. What's nice about this is that your yarn is right there, right in front of the hook, ready to be worked with. There are lots of ways people hold the yarn in their left hand, and the way I'm showing you is very common, but you will see it held in other ways. And I just want you to know that there's no, once again, there's no one right way and one wrong way. There is, mostly it's the way you're taught, it's what you get used to. I would recommend, holding it in a way that gives you the most control and where you're not having to do a lot of excessive wrist movements or hand movements. Just because that'll keep you from having wrist and hand pain. So this is a very classic way to hold the yarn and a crochet hook, but you'll see it being done other ways as well, and that is 100% okay. So if you're right-handed, I would just go ahead and practice this a few times because it feels awkward at first. So I'm putting that pointer finger under, curling my ring finger and pinky around, and then holding the slip knot with my thumb and middle finger. And then my right hand, all it has to do right now is just hold on to that hook. Okay, we're going to switch sides. Lefties, I got you. So with our left hands, we're holding the hook because that's our dominant hand. So our dominant hand is going to be in charge of the hook. And then our right hand is going to be controlling the yarn. Same thing, we're going to take our pointer finger, go under, wrap our ring finger and our pinky around to control the tension, and then with our thumb and our middle finger, we're just going to hold on to that slip knot. Let's do it again. I really think just training the muscle memory, do it a couple of times. Pointer finger under, curl the ring finger and pinky finger around, and then grab the slip knot with your thumb and your middle finger. You see how this gets our yarn into position right next to our hook? It's going to be so easy to work with. So, if you do nothing else for the first minute or two, just keep practicing letting go and getting your hands into position. There's the right. Letting go. Got to move my yarn around. Getting your hands into position. There's the left. Okay, so let's move on, and we're going to work on the very last thing I'm going to teach you today, and that is a chain. So we're going to start off with the most basic stitch, which is just to make a chain. I'm going to start with the right hand. I'm holding the hook with my right hand. The little curved part of the hook, you see the shape of the hook? I have that facing me. And then I'm going to put my pointer finger under, curl my ring and pinky fingers around. I'm holding that slip knot with my thumb and my middle finger. You can see the hook is right to the right of the yarn, and to make a chain, I'm going to pass the crochet hook in front of the yarn, wrap it around, and then pull the hook down. And as I go through this loop, I'm going to turn my hook a little to the left and pull through. Let me show you again. I'm going to come even closer. I pass the hook in front of the yarn, wrap it around, pull down, and turn it a little to the left as I pull it through that loop. Now the reason I'm turning the hook to the left, so I pass it in front. If I didn't turn the hook a little to the left, it would want to grab on to that loop and I wouldn't get very far. So I pass the hook in front of the yarn, wrap it around. That's called a yarn over. So we're going to yarn over, pull that yarn down, turn my hook just ever so slightly and pull it through the loop. Now as my thumb and middle finger get farther and farther away from the hook, I'm going to start to lose control. So I'm going to let go and bring them closer to the hook. Yarn over, pull through the loop. Yarn over and pull through the loop. It's simple, but there's a lot of things in play here. Most importantly, the tension of the yarn. You want to make chains that are not too tight and not too loose, but just right. Because most projects will start with a chain and then you'll be needing to work into these stitches. So if your chain is tight, it'll be very hard to work into that beginning chain. So while you start to practice your chains, I'm going to switch sides, pull out all of that work, and I'm going to do it with my left hand. Okay, so I've got a slip knot on my hook. Remember to always leave that beginning tail end, but you're going to be working with the working yarn, the yarn that's attached to the skein. Holding the hook with my left hand, my finger goes under, and I hold at the slip knot. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to pass, I'm going to make sure my camera is focusing. We're going to pass the hook in front of the yarn, yarn over, pull down, and then turn it a little bit towards that slip knot so it goes right through the loop. Let's do it again. Yarn over, pull down, and through the loop. Yarn over, pull down, turn it a little bit towards the loop. Now if I look a little more awkward doing it left-handed, it's because I am a little more awkward doing it left-handed, but it means that I can really relate to how you're feeling right now. So because I'm not left-hand dominant, the tendency for me is to make tighter chains. So I have to be really thoughtful about making sure that my tension is not too tight and my chains aren't too small. Crocheting should be a very relaxed motion. There shouldn't be a lot of tension in your hands. I've taught a lot of young students where sometimes when you get frustrated, your hands can get sweaty, and then that just adds even more friction and makes it harder. So if that's happening to you, take a moment, go wash your hands and dry them off and come back, because dry hands will help. So just like right-handed, when my thumb and middle finger get farther away from the hook, I start to lose a little bit of control, so I'm going to let go and bring them back close. Let me bring it up closer. Make sure you get a good look left-handed. Yarn over. Pull that loop through the hook. Yarn over. pull that loop through the hook. Now, I know the temptation, actually before I move on, and now I'm gonna switch sides and do some chaining with my right hand just because it's my dominant hand, and I know I can create some nice even chains for you to look at. Okay, I've pulled out my hook and I'm just holding the chain up close to the camera so we can get a good look at what a chain looks like. So each chain, this is the front side of a chain, and you can see you've got something that almost looks like a little V. You've got two loops right here, and they're just walking across. I often think they look like I imagine little bird tracks in the snow, just these little V stitches that go up. If you flip the chain over, the back side is a single loop, these single bumps. You see these single bumps? That's the back side of your chain. So your goal for this week or for however long you spend with this first lesson is to simply practice holding your hook, getting comfortable holding the yarn and making chains. Now, I know that's boring. I know intellectually you'll know how to make the chains super fast. It's so important to practice chaining because we're really working on training our hands. We're working on creating muscle memory. Every project you do from here on will go so much better and so much more smoothly if you have even stitches and an even tension. So let's just look at a really tight chain. So if I'm making tight chains, you can see how hard I'm having to kind of work that hook through the yarn. And now let's look at that chain compared to what I was showing you before. So see these chains that I just made? Let me see if I can get the yarn to cooperate. You see how tight those are? That's going to be really hard to work into. And then if I curl this around and show you in comparison to my normal size chains, my normal size chains are quite a bit larger, much more relaxed, maybe almost double in size. When you're just getting started and you're getting used to holding the yarn and working the crochet hook, you will likely have chains that go anywhere from being kind of really loose to really tight. Like here's some really loose ones. You know, really, really loose to really tight to somewhere in between. And so I would love it if you would practice chaining until you just have very consistent chains, very consistent stitches. So this is going to be our first project. This is a scarf, and I know sometimes people get tired of scarves being a first project, but it's because it's repetitive and it really helps you to learn. This is a very simple design using just single crochets, which we'll learn next time, and chains. And then to make it a little bit more fun, I've woven some chains through the scarf. So if you want to prepare for the next lesson and you want to make a scarf like this one, your homework is to make 5 chains and have each one of those chains be 65 inches long. You can see I've chosen to kind of represent the rainbow here. I've got pink for red, orange, yellow, the scarf is green, then I have blue and purple, so I kind of went with a rainbow theme. You could do this in 2 different colors. You could do it all in one color. If you just have one skein of yarn, that's fine. So until next time, practice your chains, and for our very first project, come back with 5 chains that are each 65 inches long. This is obviously not a full scarf. It's a small sample size, but I just wanted you to get some inspiration, get excited for what's coming next. Imagine all the different color possibilities. You can choose your 2 favorite. You can choose as many colors as you want. So I need to show you one more thing. When you come to the end of your chain and you're ready to take your yarn off the hook, you're just going to cut the working yarn. Once again, leave 6 to 8 inches, and then by pulling on the hook you can make the loop larger, and then just pull the cut end through the loop on your hook, and that'll hold your work in place. So that's all for lesson number 1. For now, just work on your chains, work on your tension, and I will see you next time.